All right, we are live for a Friday midday live stream, the Mike and Mario Show. Excited to connect. Looking forward to talking about what's going on as well as hearing from you guys directly. So, Mario, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, Mike. It's nice to be with you again here Friday afternoon here in the UK.
Yes, it is. All right. So, man, a lot of things worth talking about. We got shrinkflation, we got the Afghanistan situation, and how we all agree that it's a pivot towards the east for them. And why is the U.S. giving up so easily? But I also saw something about Biden looking to send, I guess, 3,000 troops back to Afghanistan as an emergency measure. He's begging OPEC to produce more oil. The prior administration was supposed to be with energy independent, all that good stuff. So we'll have some fun with it. But for those that are tuning in, hit the thumbs up button, show your support for the channel. Throw out a question or two. We'll definitely touch on it. And I want to just jump off, I guess, right away, lead with shrinkflation. And so a lot of the numbers are coming out. It's obvious that things are no longer stable. The Federal Reserve is getting they're getting what they want plus some. And the taper talk is still on the table, but yet I think everyone agree you can't really dial back at this current moment because that'll ruin the narrative. But let me pull up this on the screen here. Give me 1 second here. What am I doing? Got to get my stuff together.
You shrunk Mario there.
Yeah. All right. So I typed in on Twitter because shrinkflation is trending a little bit. So I typed in shrinkflation, and it looks like people across the country are basically showing different items on the shelves and how the bottles are decreasing, but the prices are remaining the same. So here's, a scent booster. I'm not sure what this is, but it says it's only a 32% price increase right before your eyes. And there's a lot more of these things of the before and after of Dorito bags. And I even found this one to be funny. Not sure what candy this is, but look at the middle two portions of this candy, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow.
I don't know what
Someone sent me on Twitter as well here in the UK. Excuse me. A picture of he went to the supermarket and there's 2 boxes of Cocoa Pops, Kellogg's cornflakes,
Yeah.
and the first box was an old box that sell by date was 2nd of October this year, but the amount of Cocoa Pops in it, I think, was 395 grams or something like that. And then the second one was a new one because the old ones hadn't sold, and it was like 275 grams, and it was the same size box and same price. So it might be different numbers, but I calculated. And it was 21.3% less in the new Cocoa Pop boxes, and the same price. So it's not really the same price, but I guess the Bureau of Lies and Statistics, or the statisticians for the government, they only look at a box of cornflakes. They don't see that the box is shrunk, so they say, the price didn't change. I guess that's and I think the companies that are shrinking the package and the products, they're very reluctant to increase the prices, but one day they'll have to, or else if they keep shrinking the package, there'll be nothing to sell.
Yeah, and I'd also imagine that just the cost of whether it's a consumable item or just tissue or whatever, the quality of it also might be adjusted. So I think do you think they would adjust the quality first, or decide to continue the shrinkflation aspect of just decreasing the amount of goods actually in the package, or what, or all together, you think?
I think the next step will probably be the quality, because as I said, if you keep shrinking it so much, there'll soon be nothing to sell. And it's something that I read about Weimar Germany in some of the books that I have, that the quality of things got worse. I remember as well, growing up in Brazil, products that were consumer goods that were made in Brazil were usually of worse quality than the imported stuff.
Yeah.
And it was very hard to get imported things because there are a lot of import duties. They're trying to stop people from buying from abroad. So I think the quality will be the next thing. And I think looking back, quality of things have already deteriorated over the last 10, 15 years anyway.
Yeah, I agree. And also with the push of genetically modified food substances all the way down to your fruits and veggies. And so that's another way of having changed the quality, but that's a part of their design of profiting without having to give people take away the right for people to grow their own stuff and to have actual natural produces on from the earth or whatever. So you factor all that in. That's not looking pretty. Here's a thought from Gene. It says, I went to a Thai restaurant yesterday and the portion was half the size as normal and just a couple of pieces of beef. She says, where's your beef?
Where's your beef? Do you remember that? I don't know. I'm old enough to remember that old lady in the advert from what was it? Wendy's. Where's the beef? Do you remember? Because that Wendy's burger was bigger than the McDonald's burger. So, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Here's an article here that I keep messing up. Fix this out. Yeah, they changing things on the back end of the server here, but it says take a look at how companies hide rising costs by shrinking the size of every product from toilet paper to candy. And here's just some of the products, and it looks like all the useful items that we all probably have had at some point have all shrink. So even the garbage bag sizes, they shrink them. And it goes right on down. All the stuff that's
I saw the ice cream there is shrunk.
Yeah. There was a guy holding up containers of ice creams that he saw throughout the years, of which he's been noting it and keeping it going. Tim says says the world we live in is like one of those virtual reality headsets. Nothing seems legit anymore. Yeah, very true. Very true. Thank you for the love offering. And so let's transition a little bit to the Afghanistan. Mario, you did a video earlier sharing your thoughts on how this could be this Afghanistan event with Taliban basically taking over the country ultimately signals the beginning of the end or the end of the petrodollar system.
Yeah, that's the title of my video today. I think it could be even more than just the petrodollar, but I didn't want to be too dramatic. I think it could be the end of the Anglo-American empire that we've had since the end of World War II. And why do I say that? Well, there's a few reasons why. The first is that we're in the fourth tourney. I don't know if your viewers know about the fourth tourney. Some of you might know, but that's the theory that there's a change, a big revolution, war every 80 years. So if you go back to the American Revolution, let's say 1781, that was pretty much when the Revolutionary War ended. Yeah, the treaty with the British was a few years later, but if you add 80 to 81, that's 1861. That's when you had the Civil War. And then you add another 80 years, you get 1941. That's when the U.S. entered World War II.
Yeah.
And then you add 80 to that, you get 2021. And usually there's a character, a very old person, like someone that's a leader that's becomes quite significant in history. You know, you had George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, FDR. And some people, when they were talking about this last year, thought it was going to be Trump. You could say it's a mixture of Trump and the guy we've got now, Biden. He's old. So usually it doesn't end up well, the fourth tourney. It's a major change in society. You had the Revolutionary War where Americans overthrew the King George III. Then you had Civil War, which is really significant, and World War I. And now it could be the collapse, I think, of the Anglo-American empire. Doesn't mean it's the collapse of the United States, but things could change dramatically. And you can see already the division that there is in the U.S., like states like Florida, Texas, how different they are from California and New York. So, yeah, I think we're due for some kind of crisis. And I compared it to the Soviet Union. They were there for 10 years, from 79 to 89, and it led to the collapse of the Soviet Union because it bankrupted the Soviet Union. The Americans have been in Afghanistan for 20 years. And it might just, look at the debt that we have in the U.S. now and the dollar.
Yeah, and I don't think it's coincidental that at the same time, we have a global event transpiring with the mandating of this current experience, and with it all intended to go towards digital ID. So I was looking at some stuff earlier about the digital ID and how, they're trying to connect all these servers together to make sure everyone's connected, tracked, and traceable. And then, as I mentioned before off air, about the possibility of, having mandates or checkpoints along interstate travel to try to, slow down the spread of this thing. So we went from the war on terror, which is a whole Taliban situation for the last 20 plus years, and Al Qaeda and all those characters that were actually funded by the government, to now the war against the people, because eventually it's going to turn back to each individual person being an enemy combatant, and whether or not you're participating or not will determine your livelihood as well as your future status as a citizen. So that war is very timely with this fourth industrial revolution as well. So the fourth industrial revolution, right around the same time, 2020-ish. Yeah, so it looks like there is something going on right now, and it's happening to everybody on the planet. So that does make sense.
And for America, I guess the first turning in 1781, that was a change of regime from monarchy to a republic. And then 1861, that republic fractured, but then was put back together. And then you had the other things that happened as a result of that, the abolition of involuntary servitude, because that's what it was called.
Yeah.
They didn't end slavery, they ended involuntary servitude. And then in 1941, that it was supposedly a fight against evil, Germany. And today it could be a fight. It could be the globalists trying to take over America and Americans fighting back. I think the verdict is still out.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully the globalists will lose out.
Yeah, I hope so as well. And that's where, being here in this country here, outside of a couple voices screaming from the mountaintops, telling people to wake up and to resist. We had Rand Paul, who made a video earlier this week, and it looks like his YouTube channel, if I'm not mistaken, was taken down or suspended or whatever. And he was calling on people to resist. Don't listen to the CDC. The science is not accurate, all that stuff like that. And I put out a question earlier in the week is, do you think that's genuine, or is perhaps him and a couple other people a part of this whole, the good guy, bad guy? Because it'll be a very it's unlikely to have a scripted event take place and there not be some opposition to put up the front of the good guy against the bad guy. Because if it's all bad all the way around, perhaps people would wake up. But it gives people hope that, Trump, if people are still talking about 2024, Trump is suggesting and hinting at 2024. And I've always thought, between now and then, we won't have an America. I don't see America being what it is now if things continue to progress. So, but it stalls. It keeps people from being active because they have that hope of, maybe next year primaries will get some people in there for real. But all the stuff they're setting up now is already in motion. So that's that point of being realistic, but also not wanting to give up entirely, because, there isn't always a chance for some type of change divinely, I think. But we'll see, man.
I always try to avoid the politics. I think it's like you said, is like a kabuki theater. I think the most important thing is the money, really. We need to expose the Federal Reserve. I think that's the big enemy of the people. And I sent you an interview that Daniela Camboni from Stansbury Research did with Larry Lindsay, who was an advisor to George Bush Jr.
Yeah.
And he was a member of the board of the Federal Reserve, so a central banker. And it's weird how these guys now are trying to come back and say that China is so-and-so, Xi Jinping is a sociopath.
Yeah.
And I don't disagree with him. He might be right about that. But so are the people he used to work for, like George Bush and Dick Cheney.
Right.
And he even admitted there in that video, in that interview, Daniela asked him about gold. And he said, yeah, gold is the competition for the Federal Reserve. We hate it. It's our enemy. So someone like that as well, trying to say that they're the good guys. I think we need to be careful with him because I don't think he's got the best interest of the large American public. His interest is the bankers and his very wealthy clients that he advises.
Right. And that's amazing how when you work for the beat or the enemy, you're all on board with their plan. But yet when you leave, you retire, you get your promises, you're good to go. Now you can come out with a book or two criticizing and saying, watch out. And you can be very truthful up until a certain extent. And that's why I've always questioned, a lot of people who left the Fed. One of the people I had a chance to interview was Daniel D. Martinez Booth. And so when she very first dropped that book, the Fed, whatever, I had her on the show.
She said she called it Fed Up.
The Fed Up, yep. And so I brought her on thinking that she was going to really drop some nuggets or some insight that we already didn't know. But yeah, she came on and she was very neutral with everything she said. She wasn't, bashing the Fed. She wasn't saying they were wrong. She said we still needed them. And then even about gold at that time, she wasn't really vocal about gold and its importance. But then 2-3 years later, she started her own channel, her own company. And now she's go, the Fed. They're doing everything wrong. I'm thinking like, well, did you know that all along? Like, why did you progress into that? Obviously, for a business sake, your livelihood, you got to, dial back at some point. But I'm thinking like, what's really going on. They all know what's going on, but they're going to still sugarcoat it because they can't be truthful or they'll lose their livelihood. So, yeah.
Well, she could get a livelihood even being honest, though, but by playing along for the bankers or on their side, she's going to get a lot more from the corporate interests. But Larry Lindsay, when asked about gold, he said, yeah, gold is good, but not perfect. He said, and humans are not perfect, but we need to have humans controlling it and making sure that they're not greedy. But Larry, we've had 50 years of human controlling the currency, and look at the mess we're in. He's basically against a free market. He thinks that a few people like him at the Fed and on Wall Street are cleverer than the market. Basically, he's not a free market guy. So,
yeah, and I was saying gold and silver hold you accountable. Because either you have it or you do not have it. If you don't have it, you can't run deficits, you can't spend, you can't do all these. You can't, until they commoditized it, you couldn't create all these products to get people to buy into while you control the price and basically try to keep all the capital within their own products so that they can make revenue off of fees and then So yeah, it'd be hard to run the biggest Ponzi scheme of mankind with fiat currencies if you were held accountable to having real physical gold and silver. But yet the people at this current moment are waking up and they have exposure to the real money such as gold and silver. So yeah, but yeah, here's another thing. In this current environment and given all the stuff happening around us globally, share your thoughts with me as far as having been in this industry for quite some time, educating people on the importance of gold and silver. We know at some point it's going to break, but yet if we don't have our freedoms and we don't have the ability to live and enjoy the reward of having prepared throughout all those years, what good will it be perhaps in the future if we are literally locked down, can't leave, can't, have to have permission? Will we be able to enjoy our lives as well, having did everything we were supposed to do by preparing as best we could?
Wow, it's already getting very tough to do so. Here in the UK is already, even if you've got gold and silver, it's very hard and complicated to travel abroad. Yeah, it's not going to be easy. I'm not going to say that having gold and silver is the solution to everything, because it isn't. And there's a very good book called The Mandibles that I recommend. Is by an American author called Lionel Shriver. She's a lady. Her first name is like a man's name, Lionel, and she's based in the UK. And it's about a fictional family in the US sometime in the next decade, in 2030 to 2049, and how they survived the collapse of the dollar. And gold and silver didn't help. But at the end, gold did help. So yeah, and I spoke to Star Path Academy, Arpad, who has a YouTube channel. He grew up in Romania in the 90s during the hyperinflation, and he said the biggest, and his father and grandfather also survived hyperinflation in Romania before him.
Yeah.
And the biggest challenge is actually keeping hold of your gold and silver for when things improve. So if you still have the gold and silver when things improve, then you can rebuild very easily. But people who don't have anything, who save in paper money, they won't have a choice. But before we get to the light at the end of the tunnel, it's going to be tough, and gold and silver are not going to be too helpful. I would say, in terms, you need the community, but it doesn't mean to say that you shouldn't have it, because when you get out of the tunnel, you see the light, then the people who have, I think, the real savings, they will be able to restart again. Those who don't, they're going to have a more difficult time. So,
yeah. Very true. I do agree. And that's where I wish there was a way to be able to wake up more people in time to show them that there's more at stake than just your personal comforts and your everyday lives. Now it's, the entire, your kids future generation is being taken away, and it seemed like it's kind of unavoidable, because we're already digital. Smartphone usage, telephone, commuter, internet, broadband, 5G, all that stuff is already set. But yet I was looking at some articles earlier on how Klaus Schwab, in his evil plan to incorporate technology inside the body and have us literally not only just having a phone in our hand, but having it connected to us, is like, I think the younger generation will want that anyway, even though it's not for their benefit, but it's to use them and to further enslave humanity. So it kind of seems like we're going towards that anyway, where it's like, man, like perhaps there's nothing that can be done to wake people up, because it's inevitable. It's supposed to happen for some, only God knows type of reason. So, but yet very concerning times, man. But anyway, for those tuning in, feel free to throw out a question or two, a topic or whatnot. We touch on it, and make some room for you guys to share your thoughts or whatever. And I'm curious to get your thoughts on moving forward. The I guess the jobs numbers was supposed to be the reason why there was a little bit of a flash crash in the metals days ago. Now, do you think that's real? That's viable? Like the jobs numbers that come out in a favorable sense or unfavorable, and the market respond that way still, or that's just a great time to just dump a lot of contracts and blame it on the numbers?
Yeah, I was playing golf that last Friday,
Yeah.
when that number came out. I told you it was a memorial for my friend, and
Yeah.
then when I finished, I looked at my phone and saw that gold was down like $50, and I said, "Oh, the non-farm must have been really good." But then I looked at it; it was only a little better than expected, and so yeah, the reaction was exaggerated, but. On non-farm, even if the number comes worse than expected or in line, they'll always try to bash gold and silver. So it was a surprising. And then the next trading session on Sunday night, London time, and Sunday afternoon, US, they smashed gold another $100. We got down to 1660. And I think that was all paper shenanigans by the banks. I made a video on Monday explaining, because I worked in the futures market for 20 years. And if I try to execute my clients' orders like they did on COMEX of that gold order, I would have lost my job, because when you're trying to sell a lot of futures, a lot of times my clients used to say, sell 1,000 Nikkei futures, but do it over an hour, sell every 10 minutes a little bit of the 1,000, so not to make the price go down. But on COMEX, when they want to sell a lot of gold, they try to do it as quickly as possible, like they're trying to drive the price down, not to get the best price. But I think even on Monday we saw gold rebound massively from that low, and I see that today gold is back above the high from Friday last week. So it looks really bullish, the reaction. We still have about an hour until COMEX regular hour closes, but we're now at 1778, and I think last week we closed at 1763. So the fact that we went down like over $100 from last Friday to
Yeah.
Monday, and now we're back up above where we were last week.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, that's bullish. Silver has lagged the last few days, but today silver is up almost 3%. So yeah, I think it's just the bankers trying to cover a lot of their paper shorts because they know that the inflation is not going to be under control. Even
Right.
Larry Lindsay admitted that if you want to stop inflation, the Fed should really have interest rates at 6%. Because the CPI is running at 4 or 5. So he said to stop inflation, you need to put interest rates above the inflation rate. And he said they can't do that right now because the deficits are so big and the government debt is so huge. So
Whew-wee. I think so. What's I gotta check out the U.S. debt clock, but I forgot what the current interest that's being paid on. I think it's definitely like it's close to $600 or something billion, if I'm not mistaken, of interest or more that they're paying. And Matt, they went up to 6%. Woo! That's definitely going to be trillions plus.
Well, yeah, Larry Lindsay said that the Fed is probably just going to try to drag out this policy of zero interest rates for as long as possible. But I think last time when Powell tried to normalize policy, we got back up to 2.25, the Fed funds. That was around 2019, and then we had the repo crisis. Now, I think if they try to raise it again, the Fed funds, we're at 0 to 1/4.
Yeah.
When we get near to 1, it's already going to create problems. So I don't think we can even go back to 1%.
Yeah.
So that's why people need to have, in my opinion, precious metals. I know it's volatile, but over the long term, it's going to pay off.
Yeah, I do agree. And as you're speaking, I'm going to pull up this where we stand now. We're at literally at ZERP. The ZERP and NERP.
And you can see if you go back to the longer term.
Yeah.
Every time, ever since the early 80s.
Yeah.
Every time they raise rates, it's always lower than the previous time. So this time they won't be able to go back to the 2.5 that Powell got us back to before he had to reverse. And that, of course, that was when Volcker had to save the Federal Reserve note.
Yeah.
They call it saving the dollar, but the dollar really is a weight of silver, as we know. But there, he didn't raise rates. He controlled the supply of money. He shrunk the supply of money. And that led to, I think, 20% discount rate.
It's at the peak here. If I'm all the way at the top, it says 19, so a little shy of 20%.
Almost 20. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is that back then, I think the debt to GDP was around 30%. So nowadays it's 130%, and there's so much debt, not just Uncle Sam, but also corporations, individuals. Can you imagine if they let rates go to where it should, like 6 or 7%? I'm not even talking about 20%. While 20%, like 1980, would completely annihilate the economy. You'd have it would make the Great Depression look like a picnic.
Yeah. So right now it's at 0.10.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So we do got some thoughts out here, some questions I want to definitely touch on. Let me get this. I see that. So here's a question right here, and I'll get to that super chat in a second. It says, Pay Me Money Back says, Mario, your thoughts on the crypto market at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I've been covering crypto since I started my channel late 2015, and I'm not against crypto. I do have exposure to cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin and altcoins, and I think they're very speculative. I think Bitcoin is a good idea. It's transparent. You can't inflate it out of thin air like fiat currency. But I'm still a believer in the traditional role of gold and silver because they've been around for so long. But I think cryptos are going a lot higher. A few weeks ago, I was looking at the technicals for Bitcoin, and I had 30,000 and 41,000 as key levels. So if we broke below 30,000, I could see Bitcoin going further down, maybe to even 10,000. But then I said, if we break through 41, that would be a huge level.
Yeah.
And so I think Bitcoin is going a lot higher towards the end of the year. I think, there are thousands of altcoins that will be, and probably dozens or if not hundreds that will do better than Bitcoin. But I'm not here to tell each individual which one to get into. They
Yeah.
need to do their homework, just like I did.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
far.
you need to start with the basics. Learn about Bitcoin first, what it is. Learn about how to store your cryptocurrencies, not to leave them with exchanges. Have your own private wallet, and then get from there. You learn about Ethereum and others, the difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum. Yeah, you have to do your homework. There's still time, I think.
Yeah. Here's a question from Mark Carl. It says, Mario, do you receive a better exchange rate for your metals to paper in London? It seems other countries give more funny money for metals than the US. Any thoughts?
No, not necessarily. It depends on the dealer. It depends how tight the market is at the time. Not really. I mean, yeah. So it doesn't make any difference. I think gold and silver are traded pretty much they're very liquid markets anywhere in the world. I would say it's probably harder to get gold and silver in Afghanistan and Lebanon right now than it is here or the US.
Yeah.
And some countries don't have a tradition of gold and silver, like where I grew up in Brazil. You don't have coin shops or bullion dealers.
Yeah.
So, but in the UK, I think it's pretty similar to the US. I think in the US, you probably get better deals. There's a lot more bullion dealers and coin shops in the US than there are in the UK.
Yeah, I agree. And then here's another super chat. Chris, appreciate you. Says, if war breaks out in the Middle East between Israel and Iran, would that be positive for gold? What do you think,
Yes.
Mario? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, okay. So I do agree. So typically that would be the case. But given that everything is upside down, wouldn't it be just coincidental that the most amount of paper contracts are dumped at the same time, driving the price down to just distort things to distract people?
Yeah, I think it would be an excuse for them to cover their shorts.
Yeah.
Because then they could say, well, it's because of the war, not
Yeah.
because the banks were, and they'll blame, because if there isn't a war and gold goes up to 5,000, people are going to say, wow, why is that happening? It's because of inflation.
Yeah.
So, but if there's a war, there's a cover for the inflation. So they'll just use that as a cover. And I think they did that partly in the late 70s, because if you remember well, there's another incident in Iran. There was a revolution in Iran in the late 70s, and then they took the American hostages in Tehran. And gold went from, I think, 400 to almost 900 in a matter of months. And at the time, I didn't follow the markets at that time, nor gold, but they must have said, oh, it was because of what happened in Iran.
Yeah.
But it was also because of the inflation. The dollar was, you saw there that Volcker had to let rates go to 20 to save the dollar at the same time. So, yeah, I definitely think a war between Israel and Iran, there would be a world war. The US would get involved.
Yeah. Yeah. And so here's Ed says, Mike, did you throw Rand Paul under the bus again? This is stemming from earlier where I was just questioning, because is he creating something? Because I'm of the mindset that they want opposition, they want protests, they want people in the streets at some point, and that good guy, bad guy narrative plays very well to this. So what's his intentions was my whole point. And of course, if he's vocal and speaking out against the people that's trying to do us harm, sure. But yet, once again, he's capable and able to do a lot more and say more if he wanted to. But I don't think he'll ever take it that far because of his position in politics and as well as his livelihood. Like, if you really speak too much truth, you won't be around long, I think. And I don't think he'll take it that far. So he's going to continue to say as much as he's able to say, I think, on the surface. But I don't, I wouldn't put too much into it, me personally. So not throwing him on the bus. It's better to have a voice than having none. But yeah.
And I think in the last year or so, or maybe more, he's been attacked by one of his neighbors. right?
Yes,
Rand
he
Paul.
had an incident.
Yeah, yeah, and then he was also he was in Washington D.C. with his wife, and he
Mhm.
was almost attacked by a crowd as well.
Yeah,
So I think, like you said, he yeah, he will say just enough, I
yeah.
guess, and
Yeah, and I guess it's better than him saying nothing or being bought and paid for outright. So, Rand, if you're watching this, keep doing what you're doing, man. We need more. We need more
oh
truth.
yeah, and I think his father as well was a great guy. He was the exception to the rule
Yeah,
in Washington, and
yeah.
I met him at the Mises Institute in 2002, which is the
Mhm,
Austrian School of Economics. I went there for a conference,
mhm,
and he said that he was elected to the House
mhm,
for the district in South Texas, and people asked him, "How did you get elected if you promised people to do nothing
mhm.
for them?" And he said, "Well, I told him, look at how much we've been doing for people. Congress has been doing for the public for the last 50, 60 years. Have things improved?" And they said no. So he said, "Yeah, I vote no for every bill, and because I want to leave you alone. I don't want to take your money." So
Mhm.
yeah, Ron Paul was Ron Paul was great, I think.
Yeah, and I think Ron Paul's legacy has been solidified because he's only real congressman that ever challenged, the Fed by
Oh
asking
yeah,
all those tough questions, even though nothing really came from it. But yet, he's infamous on the internet for really asking the toughest questions to the Federal Reserve chairman. So I applaud him for that. And of course, he's done more as well.
he
And
started the End the Fed movement because
mhm,
I think it was the 2012 presidential campaign
yeah,
race.
yeah,
He had a lot of support. He should have won that nomination.
yeah.
I remember him winning primaries, and the mainstream media will put the results, and he won, and they put him like at the bottom, even though he won. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, John McCain gets nominated. It's like crazy.
Yeah. Uh, and so I guess to more of the pressure from the forces that are against the people when it comes to the military here. So as a part of the whole Taliban situation we talked about earlier, I think the whole goal to withdraw our presence around all those problem nations and bring them home was probably for the agenda that's underway now. And so I think they want as many Americans back home as possible as they enforce this stuff on people so that they won't have much pushback or much resistance from people as they try to come back home and recognize that America is gone and they put up a fight against the forces that be. So I think with this upcoming September-ish, the mandate for military to participate, they've created an option of an exemption rather for medical or religious. And so I wonder, will it be honored will be my question. So I see people in the chat talking about that. Now, what's the process like for the UK? Are they putting pressure on the soldiers over there to assuming to participate or are you heard anything about that?
Yeah, I think they are. I haven't really looked too much into that, but I'm sure they will.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, I'm sure they will.
they got mandatory. So yeah, it looks like every military for Israeli. Yeah, no. So people say no
But
jab for
at
this.
the same time, you have to wonder whether they really want to inject, do this medical procedure with
Mhm.
people that are supposed to protect the country,
Yeah,
uh, if they know that it's dangerous. So they could kind of say, yeah, they had the medical procedure, but they didn't really do it. They could like say that they did it and put something else in a saline solution or something.
yeah.
Use.
And so I know here, I think it's, I was trying to find an article, but I think that either the Pentagon or Homeland Security, I think they're developing their own version as well of the jab. So there's different companies, different entities developing their own version of it. I'm assuming for their own purposes. So if that is the case, then whatever is injected to the public won't be the same injected to the military, probably down the line or something like that. And of course, that has to do with the whole World Economic Forum weaponizing the human body stuff we talked about months ago, weeks ago, whatever. So, yeah, it's all part of the agenda, man. But hey, man, Mario, about 40 minutes. You get ready? Want to get ready to dial back or what?
Sure, sure.
All right. So let me see. So just end this on some good news for the heading into the weekend. Anything you want to touch on real quick, Mario?
Good news. I think I was listening to Cliff High. I don't know if
Mhm.
you heard of Cliff
Yeah.
High,
Yeah.
and he said, and this has got to do a little bit with Rand Paul, but Cliff High said that just to try to live your life normally,
Hmm.
uh, not get upset, don't go out there and break things. Yeah, just ignore,
Yeah.
the powers that be. Uh, like here, I'd love to be traveling in the summer, go somewhere with my wife in Europe, but they make it too complicated. So we'll just stay here, be
Hmm.
patient. I think these people are going to lose out. Um, I think it was Rafi Farber who I have on my channel a few times. He talks about the story of the Tower of Babel,
Hmm.
that it's basically symbolism for projects that are too, how can I say, um, too big.
Hmm.
It's a few people trying to run everything, and it always fails, like it did in Germany during World War II, like it did with the Soviet Union with central planning. So yeah, my hope and the positive is that I think this is all gonna be, yeah, it's going to collapse.
Hmm.
This fourth industrial revolution, this great reset. They
Yeah.
might succeed for a few years. They might get a lot of people into it, but I think in the end of the day, people are going to wake up and reject it, and
Yeah.
that's the positive thing. But you got to be strong. You got to uh, yeah, not give in to them, and
Yeah.
maybe try to wake people up if they want to listen to you, because some people will never listen, so you can't do anything about them. But try to speak to people, and if they have an open mind, they might listen to you.
Yeah, I do agree, and I would concur on the same everything you said, and enjoy the moment, man. There's so much to be grateful for that we do have now, and especially just look at all the other countries that are at a lot worse place right now, as far as either already been locked down and just dealing with all types of economic issues. So definitely, we always have something to be grateful for, man. So find the good out of all this because it's definitely there. It just so happens that we spend so much time focusing on what appears to be bad, we just forget about the good as well. So I think the good always outweigh the bad in most cases. So and then of course Ed says Jesus is king, no doubt. So spiritually, deposit more into your spiritual accounts. And I spend more time in prayer than I ever have, Mario. And so I feel a little bit more strengthened in my spiritual journey, at least. So, but anyway, so let's get ready to dial back, man. I see a lot of thoughts, a lot of comments out there, but we can go on forever. And so somebody said, "What's the agenda?" And Rolf put the globalist new world order. Yeah, so just type in "Great Reset" and on Google, or not probably Google, probably DuckDuckGo, and you get all types of great commentary as to how Klaus Schwab and that whole cabal has put together an entire game plan to take over humanity. Basically, is what it's about. So that's what's at play right now, man. So. But with that being the case, it's always fun to connect with you, Mario, on Friday. Enjoy your weekend. And everybody tuning in, if you enjoyed this, hit the thumbs up button. Once again, Manico64 on YouTube does a great job educating every single day. And it's an honor to connect with you, Mario, as always. Everybody be blessed, be safe. See you guys later. Peace.